Hey everybody, Substatica here. In this video, we're going to be unboxing and taking a look at the Arcade 2 TV XR from XArcade. This is an arcade controller with 2 joysticks, 18 buttons, a trackball, and a touchpad. And not only is it compatible with pretty much any system or console you can imagine, but it also has a dongle that you can plug into your MetaQuest headset and have a full-on arcade with this physical controller in the smallest of spaces. I'd like to thank XArcade for providing the Arcade 2 TV XR for us to have a look at. Now the Arcade 2 TV XR retails for $4.99 USD. The Arcade 2 TV XR ships in 2 boxes, both of which are rather heavy. But it's important to remember that a full-size arcade machine can range in weight from 150 to 400 pounds. So the Arcade 2 TV XR really is a small option that you'll be able to fit anywhere. That being said, these boxes are too large for my studio, so I'll be doing the first part of this unboxing in my living room. Let's get into it. This first box, I believe, contains the stand. We've got a box in a box. Now, I'm not going to film the assembly of the base. From what I understand, it's rather involved and is best done with 2 people, but I will link to some video instructions on how to do it. Here we've got some hardware. Not sure what those are. I think I'm going to be saying that a lot about these. All of these parts are a rather heavy gauge steel. Now, XArcade's been around for a while, and I've long admired their controllers. I've put together a MAME-based arcade controller panel myself, as well as some other 8-way joystick, trackball, and button controller panels, so I know a bit about the parts involved. Here we've got some wheels, it looks like. We've got some feet. The assembly manual. And this looks to be the laser cut RGB LED marquee. Now all of these black parts seem to be powder coated. It's a nice smooth finish. Let's move on to the next box, the controller itself. While this box is lighter, it is larger, at least in one of the dimensions. Looks like we've got another box in a box. Now the method I used previously of cutting open the outer box on the side seemed to work, so let's do that again. Although it's not great for your knife to be cutting cardboard. This is all rather large, so I'm trying to be careful not to knock things over off camera. Here we've got a box of accessories. we're going to have a closer look at those in my studio a bit later. Then we've got some packing material. Okay, looks like I'm going to have to take all of this out at once. This is a USB soundbar that was included as part of a pre-order promotion, which unfortunately is no longer available. And here we've got the controller itself. So right away, some things that stand out are these two holes, which I believe are for you to put your Quest controllers when you go to use the actual arcade controls. We've got a trackball, we've got 8 buttons for each player, player 1, player 2. We've got, I think these are buttons as well, and they light up. And then we've got a button on that side, and a button on that side. We've got ball tops on the arcade sticks. I believe that it's supposed to come with bats as well that you can switch to, and that's just a preference thing. Now, it is not so heavy that I can't move it, but it is heavy enough that I'm not gonna look too closely at it here, but I will later in my studio. Now on the bottom here we've got a couple access compartments. I'm not sure right now what those are for. We have a connection for the RGB laser cut marquee. There is this handle which unlatches something, but I'm not sure just what it unlatches at the moment. I know that the Arcade to TV XR is height adjustable, so potentially that latch allows you to reposition the controller. I'm not sure, but we'll get into that later. I'm going to go ahead and put the base together off camera, and then we can head into my studio and we'll have a closer look at the controller, some of its accessories, and then later we will check out the MetaQuest companion app, Arcade Ranger. Here we are in my studio, where we can have a closer look at some of these accessories. And we've got a USB Type A cable. This is probably what you're going to use to power the controller unit and or connect it to your PC or console, although there are other options for connectivity. Looks to be of high quality. And here we have a second USB cable. This one is Type C and is used to power the lights both on the controller and on the laser cut RGB LED marquee. So there are actually 2 USB ports on the back of the controller unit, as well as 2 ports on the power adapter. And here we have a cable sometimes referred to as a pigtail due to its form factor. And this one is to attach the controller unit to the laser cut RGB LED marquee sign, both for power and control of the LED lights. Then we have a microphone for the soundbar that was part of the pre-order promotion, which I believe is now over. It has a switch on it. Other than that, it seems pretty standard. Now here we have some transparent acrylic adhesive, and I'm also seeing some foam adhesive pads. Now I'm not sure what these are for, but I suspect they are for mounting the soundbar that was included as a promotional item. But certainly let me know in the comments if you find a different use for these. We've got our wall adapter. Now these clear acrylic parts are what's known as restrictor gates. They fit on the underside of the joysticks, and as the name implies, they restrict the motion of the joystick. Some games, such as Galaxian, only have left to right movement, so it can be advantageous to restrict the joysticks to only left and right movements. Other games, like Pac-Man, do not have diagonal movements, so again, it can be advantageous to install a restrictor gate that will force the joystick to favor up and down and left and right versus diagonal movements. But this is really a player preference, and it depends on what you're going to be playing. They've included a selection here, and later on we'll open the control panel and see which, if any, are installed by default. One of the great things about XArcade's controllers is that they are near universally compatible, but you may need additional adapters in order to connect the controller to something like an Xbox 360 or a RetroPie or a PlayStation 4. And this DB9 serial breakout adapter is going to allow you to connect those additional adapters. And then lastly, we have the MetaQuest dongle. So this is going to be how you connect your VR headset, your MetaQuest headset, to the Arcade 2 TV XR. Now, I've got a MetaQuest 3 headset right here that we can plug the dongle into. And I've got to say, I'm not a fan of the form factor of this dongle. Now, it has a pass-through, so you can charge the headset. But if you can see, if you were to plug in a charge cable here, you'd be putting some awkward downward pressure on the headset's USB connection. And if you were to pull that out, you'd be putting some upward pressure on it. So I would recommend to save the headset USB connection that you remove the dongle if you were to plug in or unplug a charge cable, and then plug it back in once you've made the connection here or removed it. And that way you're not putting undue pressure on that connection. Let's move on to the arcade controller itself. Okay, here we have the Arcade 2 TV XR controller unit. As you can see, we've got 8 buttons here. Joystick currently has a ball top. We've got player 1 start, player 2 start, and then we have insert coin buttons on the side as well, a trackball, and then this set of buttons that light up entitled P1 Turbo, P1 Mode, this X button in the middle, and then P2 Mode and P2 Turbo. That handle that was on the bottom is indeed for the latching system. We'll flip the control unit over so you can see a bit about how that works, and some surprises on the bottom. Okay, here's that handle I was talking about. When we pull it, you can see that these kind of locking pins retract, and that's how you slide it into position on the base. We also have 2 storage panels here. One of them contains an Allen wrench that's used for a variety of things, including tightening the slide rails on the sides. And also contained in this compartment is a small wrench you're going to need if you want to change the joystick tops from the balls to the bats or back. This other storage compartment contains those bats. So right now, the glossy red balls are on the joysticks, but you can replace those with kind of these matte red bats, and that's just a preference. We also have some nice grip strips here, and we can see the connector for the pigtail to the RGB laser cut marquee. Now at the front here, we have sliding hooks that once you slide them out, if the controller unit was upright, you would be able to hang your VR controllers from or your VR headsets. And when you're done with them, they just slide back in and magnetically snap in place. Let's go ahead and flip it back over. All right, now let's have a look under the hood. In order to lift up the control panel, there are 4 screws, 1 on each side, and then 2 at the front. I've already removed the 2 at the front, so I'm going to go ahead and remove the 1 at each side. This requires a Phillips head screwdriver, or a cross. Now that we have the screws removed, we can just lift up the entire control panel. We can see the restrictor gates that come installed by default. They are square, and to swap these out, you just have to push in these little plastic tabs to release the one that's already installed and install one of the other ones. We can see that the arcade buttons actually have the micro switches that are integrated into push buttons rather than the larger micro switches we sometimes see. I love that this is such ease of access. The wiring's very clean. We've got a PC board under here, but both when you're opening it and when you're closing it, you're going to want to make sure that the wires don't get caught on each other. So just go slow and try to be deliberate in your movements. Okay, let's go ahead and put it on its base and try out Arcade Ranger, the Meta Quest game that goes along with the Arcade 2 TV XR. Here we are in Arcade Ranger for Meta Quest. There should be a code at the back of your Arcade 2 TV XR manual to give you access to Arcade Ranger. I'm standing in front of my physical Arcade 2 TV XR, and we can see the in-game Arcade 2 TV XR over there in the corner. There's a lot of modes to Arcade Ranger, and as they develop it, I'm sure it'll expand even more. I've set up my avatar, and for the purposes of this video, we're just going to get up and running with the Arcade 2 TV XR. So I'm going to walk over there, and I've loaded up some ROMs already, but if you haven't, you're going to want to click on the Arcade 2 TV XR. That brings up this menu. File folder will be blank, and you are going to need to load ROMs using SideQuest from your PC to your headset. So I'm going to click on this. If this is your first time running it, you're going to want to download Core, and that sets up the file system and directory structure for you to copy ROMs over to the headset. And I've copied some ROMs to MAME 2003 Plus, and we're going to select Black Tiger, one of my favorites. Click Confirm. We're going to turn up the sound effects, and then we are going to go ahead and turn on XArcade mode and click Play Now. We are now in mixed reality. I have the XArcade in front of me. We can see the snazzy RGB LED laser cut marquee there that we can actually change the lighting effects on using the X button in the center of the console there. The USB Type-C cable is used to power the lighting. So both the USB Type-A and Type-C plug into the back of the unit and into the wall adapter. Now to get playing, we're going to put our controllers into these slots here, and as instructed, we're going to press the Player 1 and Player 2 start at the same time. Now we should have our headset hand tracking kick in eventually. There we are. That feels good. Now I'm going to press the coin insert button on the side for Player 1, and then Player 1 start. Now I think Black Tiger only has jump and attack, but we're going to see. This is a brutal game. Okay, there's our jump, and there's our attack. We're already taking a hit. Now, I love retro arcade gaming. I actually built myself a control panel not unlike this for a 4-player Ninja Turtles cabinet that I have in my garage, and it is massive. I can't really bring it into my house because of the size, and I've always meant to kind of chop it up and make it smaller. But the Arcade 2 TV XR solves that problem because you don't need a screen, you don't need a lot of space, and you can use your VR headset to have a full retro arcade experience. Now, if you're interested in purchasing the Arcade 2 TV XR, you can use the link in the description to get 10% off, and you'll be supporting this channel at the same time. Once again, I'd like to thank XArcade for sending me this unit to have a look at. And if you haven't already, take a minute to click the S in the corner to subscribe. Heading for 50,000 subscribers, I'd love to have you on the team. Also like, share, leave a comment. Let me know what you think of the video or the Arcade 2 TV XR. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.